Hey guys, welcome back. So today's video we are talking about one of the top most important parts of makeup, and that is how we apply our makeup, and that is brushes. So I always get a lot of questions about brushes that I'm using when I'm doing my makeup, and I needed to do an updated version because I have a lot of different brushes that I've been using and you guys have been wondering what they are, and I'm so bad about saying each one when I'm using them, so I wanted to round them all up in today's video. So I have them here in this handy dandy little makeup case. This is from the brand Truffle. So a little bit of a heads up, they are wicked dirty. I am really bad at cleaning my brushes. I will be the first to admit that, so do not be like me. Do not be scummy. Wash your brushes. But, you know, if you want to come at me for not having clean things, it's fine. I accept that. So before we get into all the brushes, I quickly wanted to mention two of my favorite things to use when I actually do clean them. So first is this e.l.f. Solid Sponge Cleaner. I'm really good about cleaning my beauty sponges because I just use them so much, and it's so easy to clean them, especially with this. So this is a little like charcoal type bar of soap, and you just take it out, get it wet, and it instantly sucks everything out of your beauty sponge. It gets it super clean, so I love that. And then when I do actually wash my brushes, I either use dish soap or I just use micellar water. So micellar water, the way it's formulated, really just sucks everything out. I don't know what it is, but it is like a magnet for like dirt and grime. So I will use that and rinse with regular water, or I will use dish soap if it's like super dirty. So when I do clean my brushes, that's how it's done, and I just sit at the sink for 7,000 years, and that's how you do it. All right, so now that the boring stuff is out of the way, let's talk about the brushes themselves. I feel like brushes are so important, especially like when you're like getting into makeup and you're wondering why it looks so shitty. Most of the time it's going to be your brush. Like, your brush needs to be your best friend. It needs to help you, not hinder you. So I feel like finding good brushes is always a struggle. It's trial and error, and you know, the more that you try, the more that you learn about them and see what you like. So these are my top most used. Some of them are a little bit newer and you might not have seen me use them in videos yet, but some of the brushes that I have are like old, so I've been on the hunt to find ones that are replacements and are still available for you guys to go out and purchase. So some of these are a little bit newer. So I think I'm going to start off with the ones I use for my face, and then I will move on to the eye brushes. But first, let's talk about sponges. So I have two sponges here today. These are both from the drugstore, so they are affordable. I feel like in this day and age, there's so many alternatives to the original Beauty Blender, which is like $20-something, that it just doesn't make sense to spend that much. So this one right here is from e.l.f. You guys have seen me use this a lot. I think it's just a few dollars, like maybe $3, $5, something like that, and it's really good. They have a few different sponges, but this is my favorite one from e.l.f. Just looks like this. Mine's dirty. I just dropped it on the floor as well, so if you see fuzz or dog hair on it, that's normal. So I like that it has this flat edge over here and it's very squishy. I personally don't like my sponges super duper wet when I'm using them. I don't know why. I just kind of have always been like that, but I will say I will soak it with water, squeeze out as much excess water as I can, and then I will spray it with a setting spray or beauty spray of some sort before I use it. But anyways, I really like that this one has the flat edge, because a lot of the times after I apply everything, I would just go in with the flat edge and really just press everything in. So I really like this one. And then the other one is very new to me, but I am obsessed with this. I just went out and purchased a backup of this. I mentioned it in my February favorites. It's a new one from Sonia Kashuk. So it just looks like this. And like I said in that video, I love that it has this really pointy tip, so you can get right in there in that little crevice, because I have really dark right in here, so when I'm doing my concealer I really need to blend it in there. So this one is so good, and I like that it has these flat edges, so you can really use this to set under your eyes. You can use it to bake because it has that flat edge. You can use it to clean up any kind of like contour, clean up the edge of your eyeshadow. It's just such a good sponge, and again, it's like not too porous, it's not too stiff. It's just the perfect sponge. So these two are my top two favorite beauty sponges of the moment. Next, let's move on to foundation brushes. So I know most of you will guess that I'm going to talk about the Tarte Bamboo Big Brush, and while I do love that one, I found a dupe for it, and this one is much more affordable and it works just as well. So this is from the brand KOKIE Cosmetics. So it just looks like this. I think this one is around like $11 or $12, and you can get it at Rite Aid, or they have it like online at Walmart, but it's so So good, and I just love big brushes, especially for foundation. They just cover so much and it makes your life so much easier. Your foundation blends just so much faster. And I personally am someone who always applies their foundation with either their brush or their hands. I don't like to use a beauty blender for my foundation. Just personal preference. But yeah, if you guys are fans of the Tarte one and want something a little bit more affordable, definitely check this one out because it's a fraction of the price and just as good. Next up is another foundation brush, and this one is from IT Cosmetics, and it's kind of like this triangular shape, and I don't know the name because it has rubbed off, but this one I really like, especially for like applying like a cream contour, because you can kind of like do like a straight edge, and I just really like it. Or if you are someone who does your brows before you do your foundation, the straight edge of this one makes it a little bit easier to go around that area and not mess up your brows. So I wanted to mention this one. Again, it blends really nicely, and yeah, I like it for doing a cream contour or all over foundation. The next face brush is also from IT Cosmetics, and the name of this has also rubbed off because I've used it so much, but this one, again, I love for applying cream contour, cream blush, anything like that. So it's a dual-ended brush. So we have this side, which is like a small little domed shape, and then this side is kind of like a little mini stippling brush. So this is really good for doing like a nose contour, or if you want to use this for concealer, this is a good one. And yeah, like I said, I like to use this for like cream contour or blending out cream blush. It's perfect. A lot of times if I'm doing cream contour and cream blush, I will use this brush for all of it, and it just blends so nicely. And a lot of times I will also spray my cream contour, cream blush brushes before I go in and blend, because I feel like it helps the process and just makes everything blend a lot smoother. So that's a little tip or trick that I have. You guys might have seen me do that in videos before. So I believe that's it for like all of the cream products. Now we can talk about like the blush, the bronzer, contour, things like that. So here are two of my favorite blush brushes. These are both from IT Cosmetics again. I really just love their brushes. I feel like they're so high quality, especially the face brushes. I feel like they make some of the best face brushes. So these I both like for blush. So this one is kind of like a tapered dome shape, and I like this one because the tapered tip lets you be a little bit more precise when you're applying it, and then you can kind of just buff it out. So I really like that one, and they're all extremely soft. And then this one, I am like very guilty of applying too much blush and applying it in like all over. So when you have a smaller brush like this one I just turn it sideways and then apply it like right there, so I don't go too low with it, because I feel like if I put it too low, then it drags my whole face down. So I kind of like to just turn this one on its side and apply it that way. So I really like this one for blush as well. Now moving on to contour brushes, I have a few. So the first I want to mention is this one from e.l.f. So this is their e.l.f. contouring brush, and I believe this is maybe like $6 or so, and it's really good. If you struggle with doing a nose contour that's straight, this is going to be your BFF because it's already a straight edge for you. So I kind of just press it along the edge, do the tip a little bit, and then blend it later with a different brush. It's also really good for chiseling that jawline. You can use it with cream or powder. I typically use it for powder only, but it is a really good contouring brush. So I have that one. And then this one is from DIOR, so it's a little bit fancy. It's their number 16 brush, but I really like this for contouring as well. So a lot of times I'll go in with a big fluffy brush for bronzer, and then I'll go in with a smaller brush like one of these and really get it precise right underneath the cheekbone to really define it and chisel it. And this, again, a lot of times I will use as a contour brush for my nose. I'll just kind of pinch it and go like this, or like get my eyeshadow just with some bronzer in there and contour my eyes that way. So these are really good. This one's just a little bit easier to use like when you're trying to get into a curve, because obviously this one is straight, whereas this one has a curved edge. I don't know what we're doing. We're doing the chicken dance here, apparently. So then that brings us to bronzing brushes. So I have a few that I like to use. A lot of the times I use tons of different brushes just because I'll grab whatever's closest to me, just because I have a lot of brushes. But these are my most used, my top favorites. So first we have this one, again from IT Cosmetics. This is their powder brush. So it's pretty big in size, but I really like it for doing bronzer. It just has like a lot of movement to it, so it deposits color, but it also blends really well at the same time. So I really like that one. This next one is a duo fiber brush from Laura Mercier, I think it's called like a finishing brush or something like that. And this is really good too. If you don't want to apply so much product, the Duo Fiber part of this picks up less. So it doesn't pick up as much and you just go in like that. So if you don't want to apply as much, you can go in with a brush like this. You can also use this for blush. But yeah, I really like this one. I think e.l.f. makes similar ones to this if you don't want to splurge on the Laura Mercier, but this one is really, really good. And then most recently, I have this brush from e.l.f. So I actually have a lot of e.l.f. brushes here. This one I mentioned again in my February favorites, and I love how big it is. So I used this today, and it just covers so much area at once, and that's why I love big brushes, because they just do the work for you. So you just go bing, bang, boom, boom. It covers your whole neck, your whole face. It's just so easy to use, especially for like every day when you're not trying to be precise or do like a full chiseled look. Like these kind of brushes are your best friend. So I really like this one, and yeah, it's big, oversized, fluffy, and super soft. Next up, we have another big ass brush. This is from Iconic London. I recently mentioned this one as well. So I really like this to apply body bronzer. So if I want to apply bronzer to like any body parts, my legs, arms, whatever, this is a really good brush for it. This, I believe they market it as like a powder brush, which you could totally use it for like body, like shimmers and things like that, but I like it for like cream body bronzers because it's basically like this brush on steroids. It's so big and it's very dense, so it's going to blend really nicely and not leave any streaks. So basically I will just apply the product and then buff it all in, and it takes 2 seconds, and I just love it. This is literally Peter Cottontail's little butt. Nice little Easter present maybe. Now we're going to move on to brushes that I use for powders, like loose powders or, you know, setting powders, pressed powders, things like that. So this one I use a lot. It's from Hourglass. It is a dual-ended brush. So some people like dual-ended brushes. Some people hate them. I personally am a fan, especially when you're traveling, because it's like you don't have to bring 2 brushes. So this one is really good for under eye powders. I love the shape of it for that. Some people use it as contour, but I really like it for under eye area. And then the other side is good just for overall powdering. So if you want to apply loose powder to the rest of your face, this is really good. Very soft. Very nice. Then we have this brush, which I discovered last year and I'm obsessed. This is from Walmart. It's like the EQUATE brand, and this is their powder brush, and I love this. So it's very dense again, so it's really good for just buffing everything in. I will usually use this to apply like loose powder, or when I am pretty much done with my makeup, I will go in with this with a pressed powder and buff everything out. It's just so good. It just makes your makeup look so smooth at the end. So I love this brush for that. And yeah, you can see a pattern here. I'm very into large and in charge brushes. I think we have one other face brush. Yeah, so this one replaced my Anastasia Beverly Hills highlighting brush. I love that one, but this one is a lot more affordable and it just gets the job done. It's a little bit softer too. So this is the all over blending brush from MILANI. So this is another drugstore find. So it kind of has that like little domed tip, and it's really good for doing your highlight, just small and precise. So I really like that. I will be honest, I haven't really been doing a ton of cheek highlighting recently. I still use it for my nose though, so love that. Now it is time to move on to eye brushes. And eye brushes, for some reason, I feel like finding the perfect eye brush is harder than the face brushes. Like there's a lot of face brushes out there that are pretty good, but for the eyes, I don't know, a good blending brush is essential. So you guys know that I have been loving and raving about this one from Real Techniques for so long. It's called the Multitask Eye Brush. It's hard to find. I think you might be able to find it on the internet some places, but not like in a store. So I love this one. It's just the perfect shape. So there's a lot of brushes out there that look like this, but they don't do the same thing. So this one, I found a very similar one at Target, so I think this might be the same brush but just like in a different packaging. So I really like this one as well, and it says it is the Real Techniques 330 brush. So they're both from Real Techniques and they're both so good for blending that crease. Like, blending the crease is so crucial, and these are my favorite types of brushes for the crease. So I had to mention this. I just really like that it has a little bit of a tapered tip. Really just helps me get into the socket of my particular eye shape. That's the other thing. Your eye shape is also going to determine what brushes work better for you. So these in particular work better for me personally. Another blending brush I really like is this one from Makeup by Mario's brush set. I have his whole brush set, the eye one, but I haven't really used all of the brushes enough to really talk about them, but I absolutely love the blending brush. This is like good for doing the crease. It's so soft and it blends amazingly. So just looks like this. Again, kind of like similar in shape to the Real Technique ones. Then we have this dual-sided brush from Bare Minerals. It's the Seamless Blend and Smudge brush. So one side is pretty big. It's good for like all over color. So, you know, just packing on color all over the lid or doing like right underneath the brow bone. It's really good for that and kind of like blending out at the same time. And then the other side is a little pencil brush. So I've been using this a lot for my lower lash line. It's not too like hard or spiky. It blends really nicely and doesn't irritate that sensitive area. So I love that one. Then the next brush is this one from Tarte. It's an angled liner brush slash spoolie. So it's good for doing your brows, or if you want to do a wing, this is really good. And when you're doing a wing and you have like an angled brush like this, it has to be thin and it has to be dense. Like, it has to be structured. It can't be flimsy. So that's why I like this one in particular, because it's very thin, like it's not too wide, and it's very stiff. So that is the key. So this one, if you can't get your hands on this one, the Anastasia Beverly Hills one is very similar in shape and overall brushness, I guess. So I really like that one. Here is another dual-ended brush. This comes in every single Anastasia Beverly Hills palette, and I think these are so good. So this one end is really good for, you know, packing color on the lid, and then the other one is really good for blending, but it's more for like putting it down and blending like the outer corner, not just like overall blending, just because it's a little bit small for that. But I feel like these brushes are so underrated, and I keep all of them. So I have a lot of these because I have a lot of their palettes, but do not sleep on these little brushes. They're very, very good. Next up, we have two brushes from Dial 10 Beauty, which is kind of like a lesser known brand, I feel like, in the YouTube world. So this one is their Shadow Shader. So this one is really good. It's kind of like a thinner type brush. So I really like this one, again, for doing like outer corner and like dragging it in. It's very soft. You can blend with it a little bit and deposit color at the same time. So I really like that one. And then I also really like their line definer brush. So this one is very fine and it's a straight edge. So if you want to clean up under your brows, or if you want to do like a really precise lower lash, or you can even use it to do like a shadow liner, this one is really good. It's stiff enough, but it's not spiky. I feel like there's some brushes out there that are good structure, but they like feel like uncomfortable when you're using them. So these are both really soft. Then we have this number 10 brush from BH Cosmetics. So this one is good. Like, if you are someone who likes to do like a cut crease, this is a good one. I think it's like a concealer brush, but you can really just specifically apply shadows with this. It's good for like really sparkly shadows as well, but honestly I will just use like my ring finger a lot of the time if something is like more of like a pressed shadow. I feel like that's just the best way to apply it. But this one is really good if you like to do like a cut crease. So that is rare for me, but it is nice to have. Then the last brush I wanted to mention is this one from Makeup Addiction Cosmetics. It's this little baby brush. It's their Precision Shader brush, and this I particularly like for the inner corner. It's just really small and precise. You can also use it if you want to do like a really precise nose highlight, and I just love it. They have like a whole thing of brushes, which I also have, and you guys have probably seen me use before, so I do really like their brushes. I've just kind of replaced some of them to make my top favorites, but I do really like their brushes. Last but not least, we have a few eye tools. So first is this little guy, which is super dirty. It's the Japonesque lash comb. So it just looks like this, and it's really good for separating your lashes. It also kind of lifts them at the same time. So if you ever have clumps in your lashes, or you just want them to look a little bit more natural and defined, you just comb through with this after you apply. So I really like that. And then lastly, I wanted to mention my favorite eyelash curler. So I bought this based on Makeup by Mario's recommendation. He uses this on like all the Kardashians and it's amazing. It creates like the best curl. Like it's not like a stick straight up lash. It's like more gradual and natural looking. And it's also really, really good for my eye shape. So I've tried so many and I feel like the shape of my eyes like this way is kind of flat. So I have like this one to show you guys next to it. So this is the Tarte lash curler. I don't know if I said that. It's amazing. It's definitely more of a splurge, but totally worth it in my opinion. The curl also lasts a lot longer than other lash curlers for some reason. So I just wanted to show you guys really quickly how it compares to like a regular eyelash curler. So this one is from DIOR. And if you guys can see, like the arch of this one is so much more rounded than this one, which is more flat. So when I use something like this, it cuts into my eye because the shape is rounding in where I still have an eye. Whereas this one, like if you have like bigger or longer or like flatter eyes, this one is just so much more friendly. It doesn't like pinch my corners because like the rounded ones really just pinch my eyes and then it's not a cute look and it's not a cute feeling either. So the Tarte one is amazing. Oh, and one last thing I wanted to mention was my brush holder. So this is where I keep all my brushes. These are just like extra ones. I just have way too many. But I really liked it. It's basically like a Lazy Susan for brushes. It's like this little wooden bamboo holder. And I just really like it because it spins. It just makes my life easier. And it has like all these compartments. So I really like that for holding my brushes. So I know I mentioned a lot of brushes in this video and hopefully it wasn't too overwhelming, but I wanted to mention all of my top most used just because you guys see me use a lot of different brushes in videos, but that doesn't mean you need all of them. You know, that's why I tried to describe what each one was for, so you can kind of like pick and choose and listen of, oh yeah, I do that, or yeah, I need that. So hopefully it was helpful. Let me know if you guys have any questions in the comments below. I will have everything linked in the description box as well. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I know this is probably a wicked long video. Thank you if you made it to the end. And yeah, I will see you guys next time.
I like a big brush and I cannot lie. You other brothers can't deny. When a brush walks in with an itty bitty waist starts blending my whole face to get sprung. Feel free to hit me up if you would like me to write a verse on your next song. I will let you know my rates.